I once faked a school trip to fool my mum into letting me go to France.
David's team.
So you faked a school trip?
Faked a school trip.
How? What did you say?
My mother was extremely strict. Never let me go anywhere or do anything. I was 17. I wanted to go to France. I was studying A-level French, so I tricked her into thinking it was imperative for me to go on this trip.
I'd have thought if it was an educational thing, most mums would be all for it, wouldn't they?
That's the point she's just made.
No. My mother was super overprotective of us.
Right.
Like, she didn't let us go anywhere. She had a scrapbook of bus and train crashes. That she'd bring out and go, you see these children? They went on their school trip and now they are dead. Stuff like that.
Wow. Was there actually a school trip?
No, there was no school trip. I went on my own. But
so did you just tell your very strict, fearful of death mother, there's this school trip, and she went, OK, there's a school trip?
I basically got all my friends to turn up at the train station with suitcases.
You're not serious?
To make it look like it was a school trip.
And they weren't going to France with you?
No. And then my mum came, said goodbye, and then we all got on the train and they got off at the next stop.
Where did you go in France?
I went to Touraine.
Touraine?
Touraine.
Why did you go to Touraine?
Because there was a French course there, and the council gave free trips for kids who were studying A-levels.
So you actually lied to your mum to go to France, but actually went to a French course?
Yeah.
So you didn't go clubbing or go out and do anything? You
I did
actually
that.
went and studied?
I did that. I slept with a guy while I was there, but I did go...
But you also
initially to study.
So it was part fun, part academic?
Yeah.
What year was this?
I'm going to say the 80s.
Because I was there in the 80s.
Yeah, 80s, yeah.
So how long was it?
It's me! I remember you.
I thought you were black.
What are you thinking, Wallace?
The way that Gina talks about her mum is the same way that I sort of, you know, Sri Lankan parenting is very, very similar. What I can't understand is how you wouldn't be just incredibly anxious, because if even there was the slimmest chance of your mum finding out, you would not be with us today.
No.
What do you think, Jessica?
I think it's completely 100% true.
Really?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, completely.
Do you know what I liked? Touraine. Not Paris.
No.
It's not obvious, is it? Touraine. Who knows? But yes, that's a sort of thing, a place in France. Yes, my town is twinned with Touraine. They've got a biscuit factory. I think it's true.
You're going to say true? Gina, truth or lie?
It is true.